Okay, let's start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our meetup of today. My name is Mirjam van der Helm, and I'm the host of this event. My colleague Cecilia Miao will share a very interesting story with you in a few seconds. In this session, she will discuss a very important project with fair value at ING. I'm not going to tell any more about that. She will do that by herself. And there is also a live demo, of course, at the end. Please be aware that we are recording this session and that we will share the recording at the end on our YouTube channel, just to let you know that you're aware. Before we start, fun fact about Cecilia is that she's studying for a private pilot license, really nice, and that she has 2 cats, Popo and Lala. And of course, you can ask her like everything about machine learning and Python. So just to let you know. If you have any questions during the presentation, please ask them in the Q&A chat here on the top of your screen. And Cecilia will answer them at the end of her talk. Thank you very much. Cecilia, the floor is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Let me share screen and let me know if you see that.
Perfect.
Cool. I'll start. Hey everyone, thanks again for joining this session. Yeah, I know it's a wave of World Cup now, and yeah, you can enjoy the World Cup after this talk. But let's first start with the topic. Derive the fair value with Kubernetes and build up your economic value today. So first, a little bit about myself. My career kickstarted with the IT class traineeship in ING in 2019. The program attracted me with its flexibility, vision in the IT landscape of ING, and potential growth afterwards. Now I work as a machine learning engineer in ING Type Lending. The data science and the machine learning chapter is quite new, only exists for 2 years, while already we process a portfolio of successful data science use cases. Through the past 2 years, I worked on credit monitoring, covenant extraction with NLP, and now the nice famous fair value project. In addition to my job, I also help organizing the Co-Breakfast series, where I gained quite some knowledge from the data scientist community. In case people who does not know Co-Breakfast, it is an online series to share data science knowledge and practices with the newest advances in the field. And yeah, we might go to tech meetup in the future as well with this series. You could also find me active in this field, and let's catch up later if you have a very similar interest. Okay, let's dive into the agenda today. I would like to first highlight the economic values for an individual and how you could accumulate in the context of big corporate. Then I'd like to dive into the values of a corporate, specifically in the context of a bank, and see how we optimize the fee generation process with a fair value model in the current macroeconomic context. Last but not least, the also most exciting part, I will talk about Kubernetes and how we deploy our machine learning models to a Kubernetes cluster. If you have any question, like Marianne said, you can post it in the Q&A session and I will address it later. So first, I would like to have a poll about what's your what's the biggest portion of your economic values you think? That can be maybe bank savings, which includes all the cash you have, real estate, including the mortgage values you have, human capitals, which are the present value of your accumulated future income, pension income from 3 pillars, and also stocks. yeah, if you are rich and brave enough to do investment. Let's see result. So actually the answer is human capitals. Yeah, you are right. So how was it really, how was it defined? First, I want to introduce so recently, I've been really troubled by this abnormal high inflation trend about the globe. I believe that a lot of you also have the same feeling as me. As a young working professional with few years of working experience and savings, while facing this uprising rent, bills, and mortgages, now, unless you have a very rich parents, it's almost impossible to buy a house in Amsterdam. Now that winter is coming, the tech industry faces the biggest layoff trend since dot-com bubbles. How can I prepare to face it? Well, you could always measure values with physical and tangible assets, which are calculated in the formula left below. Here you can also play with your current asset, cash, with stocks, ETFs, or even cryptocurrency if you are brave enough, of course. Well, this talk is really not about investment. If you are really into it, I recommend reading the book, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Brown. Buffett also got inspired from the book when he was 20 and invented the value investing concepts and theory. What I really want to highlight though is that your individual fair value is not only about the wealth you possess till now. If you look at the economic value formula, it includes two additional dimensions, the human capital and pension funds. Well, for pension funds, unless you are a professional investor who could understand the investment strategy, you don't really have much control around there. The dimension that you really do have full control is human capital, which include the education background you have, the working experience you accumulated, and also health is very important. Now I want to quote the quote from my favorite investor, Warren Buffett. The biggest thing you could invest is in yourself. And so if you are a very young professional working in a huge corporate, how can you accumulate human capital and unleash your economic value? Here are three aspects that I conclude from my 3-year journey in ING. First, remember the network effects. Starting from a traineeship like IT class is quite beneficial. Firstly, you experience various skill stacks and ways of working in ING. You also know different departments, and secondly, you also gain a network of most brilliant peers. This allows me to consult various issues even after the program is finished. I could still catch up with not only peers from my year, but also from before and after, who would be willing to go through a drive run like this talk, or even share screens whenever I have difficult issues. Secondly, I think you need to find your glass of milk. The other day, I went to a speech provided by an entrepreneur, which gave me quite some inspiration. He was not blind from beginning, but became a blind person when he was 26. And you could imagine how depressed he was when it occurs. So every day he sits in the house and wishes to go out and have some milk, but he couldn't, so he can only drink tap water. After 3 months of struggles, he finally gets out and managed to cross the zebra roads, identify the supermarket with the bluish sign, and bought a bottle of milk. That was marked as the biggest success of his day. I also find my glass of milk in ING, the succession pipeline. It was created by my manager in lending to prepare young engineers to experience management roles with coaching experience. It is quite different from my day-to-day work, but I enjoy the learning that came from it. I wish you could also enjoy a glass of water, which is what you want to do and at the moment. And also find your glass of milk, which might be out of your comfort zone, but requires some risk taking while better reward ahead. One way or another, those glass of milks help you accumulate human capital. The third perspective is about speak up. Sometimes I came across peers who consult me with some issues regarding the compensation mismatch, the untransparent decision process on certain opportunities, and inefficient group collaboration. As engineers, we are sometimes considered as an extremely quiet group in project compared to other roles. I would really like to encourage you to polish your views and speak up bravely as long as you have a case around it. With both good and bad outcomes, you will definitely receive some feedbacks from colleagues or managers, which allow you to calibrate your values around it so it becomes fair. Cool. Enough about individual economic values. Now let's switch to the value of a bank. So in the context of banking, how do we evaluate the fair value of banking portfolios? First, I want to start with the fair value concept. Fair value is the estimated price that reasonable buyer and seller would agree upon the orderly exchange of an asset or liability under current market conditions. So you can think about it in the context of trading. There will be quite a bid and ask spread to trade stock when the day starts. And the fair value of that particular security will be the final value when it's processed. Fair value is very important for accounting tradable loans. And as the constraint is removed from IFRS 9 accounting rules to trade the loans, now we can account the loans with fair values in our book, and ING could recycle or redistribute loans in this book and free up the capital constraint. So now going to a more vivid stories. There are several roles in the picture, as you can see. There are clients from ING who always want to make loans for their business. However, under the current macro situation with the rising interest rate, it becomes very expensive to lend money and also harder for ING to free up capital and provide loans for those clients. As ING, we of course want to serve our clients better, but we also would like to optimize our income with respect to the risk-weighted asset we have now. So on the other hand, clients of ING, such as other financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, they would like to do some business with ING client. However, they don't have the direct access to them, and they don't really have a customer relationships with the clients of ING. So ING, as ING, we were thinking about the procedure of accounting these loans we are going to give to the client with the fair value and redistributed to other financial institutions. Well, here ING accountant says and come and say, yeah, you really need to book loans at fair value if you want to sell them. So how was fair value really derived? Here comes the modeling process. The computation of fair value requires two components, cash flow and the discounted curve. Cash flow contains customer-specific information on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we also have a collateral models, which is calculated based on LGD, loss given default. You can think of it as a measure of specific risk level of clients. We also have a collateral. We also have a curve generation process, which will provide the most recent curve to the specific client. And this is really market-related information. You can think, and today I would like to really zoom in this part and explain the modeling process about it. So here, before we dive in, I want you guys to understand the difference of bonds and loans. In general, bonds are much more in terms of quantities in the market, and they are more liquid compared to loans. So that's why it's very easy to find bond data instead of the loan data. Well, we really want to value the value of specific loans. How can we use the bond data to value the loan data? Yeah, we want a bond proxy model at first. So you could understand the Z-spread concept about bond proxy tool, which is a constant spread that makes the value of security equal to the present value of its cash flow when added to the yield at each point. So you could regard it as a market price for each loan every day. It will change. And we use market bond data and reference data, which are pricing data and static data respectively, to price those loan information. The current approach is that we use rating, region, sector, and currency and duration to model this Z-spread for specific loans. Then you run a cross-sectional regression on the Z-spread to derive the bond spread proxy model. Then you map those features to the loan model, apply the bond proxy model to the loans, and derive the bond approximated loan spread for the specific loans. As you can see, the mathematical representation is here for the linear model, and we do have a more advanced non-linear machine learning models, which combine the linear regression and other non-linear models, so it gets better performance. So an example about the model and the curve that we built can be inspected here. And here the red points are the true Z-spread you can observe in the market. And the yellow ones are the bucket we are running in production. It's kind of flat for different duration because we map duration as bucket. But in the future, in the more advanced version, we will make the curve in a curvy shape, which really try to accumulate the different granularity in different duration. This is coming to be. So now we have a model, and how do we plan to run it in production? So every day the model runs in production with this pipeline. I will move myself to right so you can see. So first start, we collect the data and pre-process it. As every data scientist knows, that's the hardest part. You gather data from different sources and you run data cleaning, pre-processing. And then we do feature engineering for this data. Most specifically, we adjust rating with sub-notches and group countries and sectors into subgroups. Then we perform the modeling. The machine learning and the linear models will be performed in parallel. And we also score and monitor the model performances in the log files. In the end, we generate curves and store it in the S3 bucket. The library we use here to build this algorithm are Luigi for task orchestration, and for modeling, we use scikit-learn, both linear and machine learning models. The main programming language is Python because it's very quick, easy to prototype, and also very easy for testing. Now we do have a software. The problem comes how can we deploy it to production? Maybe every data science or most data science will agree on this chicken and egg problems. Data scientists always want more data to train models, while data can only be acquired through production. If we're never able to make it to production, you will never have the data, and yeah, you don't have a model. As this meme nicely depict how difficult this problem is. And it's especially for a bank, this makes it even more complex. We thought about public cloud like GCPs or AWS. It's very easy to deploy there. While you face the data confidentiality issue, because we are dealing with clients and there are some secrets in the clients' portfolios. We also have fire issues with those public cloud. Well, it's easy to resolve, but it's also an issue. We thought about physical virtual machines within ING. However, they do have a very higher cost, and you will need some ops to manually patch servers and upgrade it now and then. If they forgot, then you have a lot of risk and vulnerabilities. Someone will send you an angry email about it. And also, it's not optimal for resource allocation, right? For if you run several softwares in machine, then it might happen that some software have too few, while the other have too much resources, and it's not optimal for allocation. We thought about an internal machine learning platform where they will just take care of our deployment of the algorithms. Well, there is very long queuing time to onboard, and at the moment they don't have a batch process, and we do need to run batches every day. So we thought about Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes is a Greek word meaning captain in English. Like the captain is responsible for the safe journey of the ship in the sea, Kubernetes is responsible for carrying and delivering those boxes safely to locations where they can be used. It is an open source platform that orchestrates the placement and executions of application containers within and across computer clusters. So you can thought about it as this traditional way. You have a mainframe processing from 1970, and you have virtualized machine from 1990. While they do requires a lot of manual configurations and networks, traffics issues in those kind of machines. Now with Kubernetes, you have the pod, which is used to host application instances. Within a pod, there's shared storage, and you have networks, networking embedded, and a unique IP for each pod. You also have a node, which you can thought as a work machine in the Kubernetes. It can be both virtual or physical machine. And you have a service to expose your pods and route the traffic, automatic load balancing. It's also nice. So the overall conclusion coming to Kubernetes is that you have automated operations, which help you help your ops manage day-to-day application with building commands. It comes with infrastructure abstraction kind of for free, which help you to handle compute, storage, and networking in a convenient way. You will have a service health monitoring, which runs the health check against your service continuously, as long as you have a Prometheus installed. So a lot of nice thing about Kubernetes. How can you really do that? First, you need to create a cluster. Well, I don't know much about this. Really depends on your infra. In IG, we use OpenShift Red Hat version. You can also use the open source Kubernetes cluster. Well, once you have a cluster, you will have a separate, you can request separate namespace in the cluster, which you can regard as this orange diagram. And now you can go deploy your apps with this process. Specifically, you need to write a set of YAML files and be familiar with the hand chart. Yeah, in the end, you can upgrade and test and scales once it's deployed. So yeah, the applications we run specifically, we have a namespace and we have the nodes as just illustrated. And then in each node, we have several pods to run the containers. And yeah, you can also have several containers in one pod with shared resources. And actually that's recommended if your pod needs the same kind of resources. There is an example YAML file that you could use. So first, yeah, you can define this service YAML file. Specifically, I want you to pay attention to the labels and for the YAML or service that you are going to define, because if you want other services to find your services, you need to name it correctly with this label, otherwise they can't detect it. You can also define some environment value files, which allow you to allocate the pod, CPUs, memories to the pods and containers. And the nice thing is that you can kind of troubleshoot with your dev environment with this file. Just click a button for deployment and deploy it and see how to use, and then you can redeploy. Play with that, then you can find the optimal allocation. So in the end, the overall tech stack of the bomb proxy tool looks like that. We use Python to build the softwares and do the machine learning and linear regression modeling. We have Luigi for task orchestration. We use Flask to build a nice API around it. And we have a scikit-learn. We use Azure DevOps pipeline to deploy everything. And in the end, we pull it to the OpenShift ICHP environment with the image we built from Azure Container Registry. And here we use Prometheus to monitor the performance in the cluster. It's run daily, and we store the result in the S3 bucket. This part is really ING standard process. You can replace this one with open source Kubernetes clusters, or replace this part. We have ECS S3. You can use Amazon S3. Or you can replace this part with Google Cloud. They have the services there as well. Yeah, so you can play with templates, values, as I said, to adjust to different environment and find the optimal ones. And it's quite easy. And how easy it is, let's see this demo. So this is a typical Azure DevOps pipeline we had. We want to deploy the model to the test environment. There are 2 data centers we can deploy. So a nice, disaster recovery if it's needed. You see the pipeline runs, build the image and upload to Azure Central Registry. And it's gonna to scan the image and deploy to both environment. While the model, we use the API to trigger the model, and now the model of a certain day start. I gather the data from different source, and it's in internal data servers. And here is a Kubernetes cluster overview. You can see this nice GUI. In the application, you can find pods, servers, and routes. And I want to see, specific how this application is running. You can have a nice visualization about task. Here is the diag. you can see in these 3D format, but SVG is easy for illustration. So first, every day we get data from the reference file and the pricing file. We do the data cleaning, filtering, and merging, aggregation. And now we have a nice model. On the right-hand side, there's a linear regression model to run the process. On the left-hand side, there's machine learning models to run the process. In the end, it will be the curves will be created and stored in S3 bucket. If you come back here, you can see the result stored in the S3. And yeah, there is a nice smiling face tells you the process ended. So every day it runs for 3 minutes, then it's done. Cool. That's about it. So what I really want to know or take away from this talk is that, yeah, you as a young professional in a big corporate, really focus on your economic value, specifically human capital, instead of your net worth. And secondly, you should understand the fair value and the capital philosophy and why it is important for a bank in the current environment. Third, yeah, you can see Kubernetes is quite helpful to deploy and scale machine learning models. If you want to know more things about it, please click the link here. They have a really nice interactive session so that you can play with the deployment as well. Now it's almost going to end. I would like to ask you another question. So would you be willing to use Kubernetes? Why or why not? Let's see this here. Yeah, I don't have any response yet, but I think, yeah, you guys must have some nice takeaway. Okay, let's view the result. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think agreed. A lot of people choose Kubernetes because it's already a nice environment in their organization, and especially if you want a there's already a cluster. Why not compared to 10 times the amount of cost of working machine or virtual machine? Kubernetes, yeah, sometimes 10 times less. So it's a good way to go. Well, if you don't have an existing cluster, that's another story. So, I hope you have some nice takeaway from this session. And yeah, now comes the Q&A.
Thank you, Cecilia. Great takeaways, by the way. Very interesting project you're working on and you've shared with us. Thank you so much. Any questions? Anyone? Please ask them in the Q&A section for us. Actually, for Cecilia, because I'm not able to answer them whatsoever. But yeah, feel free to write your questions in the Q&A if you have them. Or was everything very clear?
I hope so.
Could also be.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's anything in the chat. No.
What's the biggest challenge for 2023? For Kubernetes, you mean? Yeah, within our organizations, there are some version upgrade for our Kubernetes cluster, so we definitely need to do that. Yeah, but I think in general, this open source environment is quite nice, and the people or users are quite active, so it's well maintained. I would encourage you to try it out.
Other questions? Ali says it's a nice demo that you gave here.
Yes, we are hosting our monitoring in the same Kubernetes cluster. So each cluster, there's a built-in Prometheus server, and in our own containers or in our own Python software, you just need to define your Prometheus client and use that to define your metrics, such as how many days, how much output you want to see, how much API request. Whenever it comes in, it should accumulate. Once you define these metrics and export it, then it will communicate to the Prometheus server. Then it will be monitored.
Another questions?
Yeah, why Luigi instead of MLflow? I think MLflow definitely is very nice, and they are getting more and more popular. But Luigi is very nice to define the task orchestration. Well, MLflow is better for modeling your versioning your models and see them. Put the metrics. But what we really want to do is run the process in a certain time every day. And MLflow, it's not, as far as I feel, it's not that good for task orchestration every day.
He meant Airflow, Cecilia.
Okay.
Will your answer be different?
Yeah, Airflow actually has a built-in scheduling. It's quite nice, also nice to try. We use Luigi because for Airflow, I think you need Apache, and it will use more resource and more memory. Well, Luigi is really good for small tasks, and you just simply define the output and input. So it uses less resource and easy to set up from beginning. And also it's a choice about from our developer.
Any other questions? Oh, Jiao again.
Thanks. Yeah, it's quite easy to onboard to the Kubernetes cluster. We have this OpenShift environment. You actually just need to log in your IPC ING private cloud environment and request your namespace for your project. If you are on ACE, you have a project, and then you have a namespace to play with. It's not that hard. It will cost some money per month, but it's cheaper than a server. Thank you.
I think this was the last question, Cecilia. Thank you very much for answering them. Thank you, Cecilia, for being here, giving this talk. And of course, we will share a recording. So if anyone would like to see it back, it will be available on our YouTube channel. Let me share quickly the link for this channel as well. So you can find like even more recordings there about what we do as ING regarding tech. Here you go. That is the link. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here. Thank you so much. I would say have a great evening or day or wherever you're here on Earth. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you back on in our other meetups soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.